Hi, today we're going to look at some coordinate geometry. We're going to look at the distance formula. We're going to look at midpoints of line segments, sorry, and we're going to look at circles. Those will be the three big things we look at here. There will be a few other things in the section, but those are the big ones, and those are what we're going to focus on here. So first, the distance formula. Given 2 points, x1, x2, and x2, y2, the distance between them is given by this little formula, which you can also find in your book. And it might be easier to read. So anyway, it's the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Basically, it comes out of the Pythagorean theorem. If you pretend that you were to make a right triangle out of this, the vertical side would be y2 minus y1, and the horizontal side would be x2 minus x1. And so we're just solving for the hypotenuse. And that's why there's a square root, and it works really pretty cool. And so we're going to actually see the Pythagorean theorem a couple of times today, just kind of in passing, but that's where the distance formula comes out of. And so we'll do an example of that here in just a minute. But first, let's talk about midpoints. A midpoint is basically two averages. You're going to average your x-coordinates, and you're going to average your y-coordinates. So midpoints are x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and y1 plus y2 over 2. Now, the thing to really watch out for and be careful here is this. The distance formula has minus signs between the x1 and x2 and the y1 and y2. The midpoint formula has addition. So be careful. Make sure that you use the right sign, because that's a really easy way to make mistakes. We don't want you to do that. All right, so I have an example here. The ordered pair is 4, -3, and 7, 12. I want to find the distance and the midpoint. So the distance, you can see I plugged in my numbers. So I have 7 minus 4 squared for the x's and 12 minus -3. You're going to be a little bit careful here because, again, it's minus and negative, so it's really going to be 15 there. So we have 3 squared and 15 squared. We have 9 and 25, which makes 234, and we have the square root of it. There's our distance. Honestly, I'm okay with the square root of 234. Check your square roots. Make sure, if they come out really nice, if you have, say, the square root of 100, you should probably turn that into 10. But otherwise, I don't need you to simplify the radicals. I just need you to come up with the answer. For midpoints, here you can see me adding my x and y values together and dividing by 2. We end up with 11 halves and 9 halves. Those fractions could very nicely be turned into decimals if you so chose. As a rule, any decimal that comes out where it ends, something like 11 over 2, which would be 5.5, that's an okay thing. But if it's got a repeating decimal that goes on forever, I'd really prefer the fraction form if you have that. So anyway, there we go. Distance formula and midpoints. Now we're going to move on and look at circles.